was nice. I call on Living and Ago resistors, Rosa Parks, Joanne Gibson Robinson, John Lewis, Charlene Hunter Galt, Gloria Richardson, Cynthia McKinney, Herb Bert and Faye Aptheca, Harriet Tubman, Geronimo Platt, Adam Clayton Powell, Jesse Jackson, Toni Morrison, Elizabeth Catlett, Maya Angelou, Oprah Winfrey, Shirley Graham Du Bois, W.B. Du Bois, Angela Davis, Charles Houston, William Hastings, Shirley Chisholm, Kay Boyle, Ellen Adler, Marlon Brando, Googie, Wa Thiongo, Chinua Achebe, Nat Turner, Sojourner Truth, Gene Hudson, Mr. Michaud, Richard Moore, Nicholas Gillian, C.L.R. James, Fidel, Amina Baraka, The Last Poets, Haki, Madabuti, Fidel, Tupac, Rakim, Asata, Talib, The Roots, Yuri Kochiyama, Billie Holiday, Yasin Bey, Almost Death, Tupac, Rakim, Asata, Talib, Kweli, The Roots, Yuri Kochiyama, Billie Holiday, Dead Prez, Common, Betty Carter, Mfunda Ella Baker, Dr. Dorothy Height, Howard Zinn, Pablo Neruda, Gwendolyn Brooks, Lorraine Hansberry, Zora Neale Hurston, Dennis Brutus, Willie Costasili, Sejaz Shabazz, Kamal Kohan, Odetta, Sweet Honey in the Rock, Bonnie Burroughs, Fannie Lou Hamer, Victoria Gray, Walter Rodney, Thurgood Marshall, Audrey Lorde, Gloria Joseph, Lolita LeBron, Thurgood Marshall, Luisa Moreno, Jose Marti, Diop, Vito Marcantonio, David Walker, Margaret Walker, Alice Walker, Maxine Green, Nkrumah, Robert Sobukwe, Dinah Washington, Abby Lincoln, Oscar Brown Jr., Sterling Brown, John Brown, Bertolt Brecht, Dada Mama Sisulu, Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela, Arturo Schomburg, John Bracy, Walter Mosley, Max Roach, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Staunton and Alice Lynn, Charlie Cobb, Harry Belafonte, Danny Glover, Duke Ellington, Abraham Heschel, Ruby D, Ruby Doris, Mickey James and Andy, Emmett Till, Bob Marley, Bessie Head, John Henry Clark, Bob Moses, John Killens, Elizabeth Alexander, Audrey Lorde, Alice Walker, June Jordan, Tony K. Bambara, Queen Mother Moore, Septima Clark, Bobby Sands, Patrick Hill, James Baldwin, Grace Paley, Allen Ginsberg, Paul Blackburn, Ann Waldman, George Lamming, Ruby D, Ozzie Davis, Pam Africa, Ramona Africa, Jennifer Achebe, Langston Hughes, Esther and Jim Jackson, Benjamin Davis, Paul Robeson, Marcus Garvey, Toussaint Dessalines, Sandino, Vincent and Rosemary Harding, Edward Said, Dick Gregory, Lumumba, Kwame Ture, Chuck D, Frederick Douglass, Cabral, German Mile, Joy Harjo, Adrian Rich, Stephen Biko, Asata, Betty Shabazz, Bishop Cameron, Howard Thurman, Walt Whitman, Thich Nhat Hanh, Jose Marti, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Richard Wright, Martin Luther King, Howard Thurman, Gene Hudson, Mumia, Marcus Garvey, Nina Simone, Malcolm, Living and Ago resistors for us all here. Shall I continue? Am I finished? I thought I was finished. Shall I continue?
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear brother. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nina. I'm the Director of Cultural Programming, and I just want to give a moment for us all to take in Sister Sonia Sanchez's blessing. I am so incredibly honored and humbled to be asked to speak about the Arts Justice Division's history and to follow our beloved friend and board member, Sonia Sanchez. This event is about the past 15 years of programming we've done and looking toward the future. And I can't imagine any better guide than Sister Sonia to the ideals and heroes of our past that point us so clearly toward the right path in the future. So thank you so much, Sister Sonia.
Thank you, my sister. Mhm.
So Tom asked me to speak about the history of the Outreach Division or the Arts Justice Division. And I thought I'd try to bring everyone back to the moment 15 years ago when we welcomed our first group of students into the Adler Youth Program. We sought and found an extraordinary group of seekers, and we invited them to the studio at 31 West 27th Street at that time. And I remember being in a black box theater on the second floor with Carlos Caldart, who led the Adler Youth Division and was the head of outreach for so long. That was in 2005. But then I thought the beginning of this program actually happened on April 4th, 1968, when artistic director Tom Oppenheim and my husband was 9 years old. He was watching cartoons that evening, and the news broke that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And Tom had an awakening at that young age that just changed the direction of his life and led him to create the Arts Justice Division 37 years later. But then I thought even further back, and I realized that there are other seeds. There's a seed in the 1940s. Stella Adler herself was part of a project to support Jewish refugees from the Second World War. And she did that in many ways through theater making, through fundraising, through sponsoring, finding new homes for the people who were left homeless in that war. And I think that it's known that she said, I only helped 900 Jews to relocate after the war, that even that wasn't enough for her. And then I thought back further to Jacob Adler, which is depicted in his memoir. There were 3 times in his native Russia where he saw Cossacks burn his village, an act against the Jews who lived in the Jewish ghetto, was committed by the local police and military, what we would now refer to as white supremacists. He saw that 3 times, and he finally escaped and fled in search of artistic and personal freedom. So that's all to say that the principles and the ideals that led to the creation of the Arts Justice Division have been woven through this organization's 100-year-plus history. But we'll go more recently to just 15 years ago when this work started in earnest for the Stella Adler Studio. In 2005, I mentioned Carlos, who's here right now. He was the head of the Outreach Division, and in the early days, he was a part-time employee, and it took many months and weeks and years of Tom and Carlos and I trying to build. We were trying to find the best way to serve and the most powerful way to be of service. And that meant a lot of experimentation. It also meant creating space within the institution. In the early days, there were even times in staff meetings where someone would say, sorry, there's no studio space for Adler Youth next week. And Tom had to repeatedly say, this program is as important as the conservatory programs. So we were constantly trying to centralize that work in the organization. I mentioned some of the experimenting we did. We worked with New York City public schools, with beacon centers, with the New York City Department of Recreation, and so on for about a year until Adler Youth was created. And when we had that program up and running, we felt like we hit our stride, but there were still so many challenges. On the one hand, there were scores of high school students who self-selected, who opted into this program. And we were meeting amazing, inspiring young people. We saw the training working, we saw amazing performances, but we saw more than that. And the thing that was more than that was more important to us. We saw strength. And I remember Carlos saying, he's a self-described student of Paulo Freire's Theater of the Oppressed. And Carlos would come out of a class and he'd say, guys, the training is working. The students don't like something I said. And it was confusing at first, but it became clear that Carlos felt that when the students felt strong and secure enough to say to their teacher, we disagree with you and we need to work it out and change something, that kind of empowerment was really at the heart of what we hoped the training would do. There was also a lot of pushing uphill. We were getting declined from funders, declined by media coverage. There were even Title I high schools in New York City who wouldn't even tell their kids about a free program we were offering. But the three of us were fueled by a sense of urgency. We could just see from the students who we were meeting that the work had meaning. So we developed a kind of relentlessness, and we got used to hearing no's and just kept barreling forward. And then around 2010 or 11, after 5 or 6 years of this, there was a flurry of activity. We created a summer Shakespeare program. We created school break training intensives. We had dozens of meetings with city officials. And then we finally got our first very small grant from New York City. And shortly after that, we won something called the Chase Challenge, which was one of those social media challenges where you like try to rack up as many votes as possible. It won us a $50,000 grant. Winning it almost destroyed us. But because we had that money, we were able to double up on the number of students we were serving. And because we were serving so many more students after that, we won some more funding. And I think even some of the students who came into the studio as a result of those grants are in this Zoom right now with us. I think there was a really major turning point that started to happen. We started to meet people who believed in the work. One of them was a man named Olara Otunu, who was an African politician, and he came. Tom was relentlessly inviting other idealists and activists to come speak with the student body. And I remember Olara saying, God has been very democratic in his distribution of talent, but we don't have a society that distributes opportunity democratically. And shortly after that, there was a production of Julius Caesar that our Adler youth students performed, which was attended by Colin Greer, who later became our board chair, and Cornell West. And it just seemed we were unfolding into a chapter where we were understood and seen, and our students were understood and seen, and that we were advancing. And then Carlos told us he was moving to Africa. And I could not imagine how the work would continue. But we conducted a national search, and we met Tommy Demenkoff, who became the next head of outreach. And I remember sitting with Tommy and Tom in Tom's office, literally on day one, and Tom saying, I think we're reaching the right people through Adler Youth and Summer Shakespeare and our other partnerships, but I want to get this further out. I want to find people who wouldn't find us in a web search or from a flyer in a school. And there was an extended conversation, but both guys said, let's go to jail. And the vision for our program at Rikers was born. The program at Rikers launched 6 months later. And Tommy Demenkoff had this really rare ability to both build trust with the Department of Correction staff and provide programming that was really meaningful to our students on the inside. So that might sound like an obvious set of skills, but it isn't. It's kind of like resisting the system and complying with the system at the same time. Over the years, over a matter of months, really, we quickly became a leading arts provider at Rikers Island. We were working with more populations and reaching more lives than any other arts organization. And the DOC staff would say, well, we have this population, they're difficult to work with, and they would give us different reasons why. Do you want to work with them? And we're always like, yes. Because we always wanted to know, how can we do more? And there were populations who we were told it's not possible to provide programs successfully here. But Tommy and Suzy and a team of ambassadors always proved the DOC wrong. Those programs always flew and were very strong. In the meanwhile, the outreach division developed a staff, which is still astonishing to me because for so long, it was Tom and I and Carlos. But Suzy came on as associate director, and she created the Outside In Reentry program. And Joanne came into the Adler Youth Curriculum faculty and the Rikers faculty. Angela had a new show slot for the NYU company, and she dreamed up the company tour, which Kern now heads, and which Libby produces and connects with our partners. And Jason Gray became the head of Adler Youth, and Melissa Mickens joined the faculty there. She later became the head of Adler Youth. And I'm so proud and happy when I think that Melissa is the first woman to hold that position of head of Adler Youth. And she's now assisted by Caitlin McCain. So after a decade, we finally were building a team. And then another really big turning point happened for us. And it again came through Colin Greer. We met Kevin Bott. His brainchild is Ritual for Return. And 2 summers ago, we sat in a room on 27th Street and listened to his passion that created that program that fights the scourge of dehumanization, and as we know it in this country, through mass incarceration. And we began a partnership, and we were thrilled to meet Alex Anderson and Annette Burwell, who have joined the leadership teams of Ritual for Return. So just going back a little bit, a few years back, in 2014, we realized we could leverage our program even stronger than we had been. So we had set out not to create great actors, but to use the rigorous training that makes great actors as a fulcrum for individual empowerment. And in 2014, we'd realized we'd built a kind of footprint that was so big that we could be even more intentional. We were in all 5 boroughs and reaching about 1,000 people a year. And we thought, how can we do better? So we named a new goal, which was to use all of the programs of this division to disrupt the school to prison pipeline. And Suzy began to lead a series of many programs in schools with that in mind. Which brings us to today. So now we have staff, excellent staff in multiple areas. We have a cohesive department, and we have a glorious community that's been built over 15 years. And I see a lot of names of students and alumni here, and volunteers and supporters here in the Zoom. And we also have wonderful institutional partners. We have some partners who we truly feel share our ideals and care about the program developing in meaningful ways. At the same time, it's still fundraising, and getting this work funded is still a challenge. It's still a fight to get in the room with the people in power, namely those who have the positions to fund programs like ours. that will help us to ultimately continue and expand the work. I want to turn it over to Kevin Bott, who's our Director of Arts Justice, but I just wanted to mention that Anita Daschle-Sparks couldn't be with us after all today. She had a last-minute conflict, and that there will be a chance for community conversation after we hear from Anette and Alex. We just want to ask if you could please hold any questions until the end. Joanne Edelmann will curate that conversation. And when you have questions at the end, if you could just put them in the chat, Joanne will lead us through a talk, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Oh yes, we're trying very hard to stop this at 5 o'clock. I want to turn it over to Kevin Bott. Thanks.
Thanks, Nina. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Bott. You know, well, first, I just want to say that
You're
like
muted.
probably everyone else.
Kevin, you're muted.
Oh, no, I'm not.
I hear him.
Not on my end, I'm not.
I can
Okay.
hear you.
Is he?
I
we
hear
got
you.
I can hear you too, Kevin.
I hear
Okay.
him.
Yeah, I hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
All right, I hear all you too. Thanks. We're all together. You know, I wanted to say that, like everybody else, I'm sure, I'm completely honored for a couple of reasons to be speaking today. And sorry if you hear my dog growling over here. I'm honored to speak on a panel with Ms. Sanchez, and humbled to even be connected in any way to the group of people that she invoked in that amazing chant. And I'm also honored to be connected to the Stella Adler studio. I've been reading Jacob Adler's biography, and I hope that everyone knows what it is and feels or comes to feel just how special it is to be an artist connected to this incredible legacy of Jacob and Stella and Harold Clurman and the group theater, and everyone along the way up through and including Tom. It's very special. I'll just say that I actually started my career as an actor, and about 20 some years ago, I dropped out of conservatory training out in California because I had an itch that wasn't being scratched that had to do with my commitments to justice. And I was in my mid-20s. I didn't even fully know what that meant, but I knew that the kind of training that I was getting was not wholly satisfying to me as a human being. And I wandered a little bit, and I finally came back to NYU, and I got a master's degree and a PhD in Steinhardt School's applied theater program. And my first work was working in some New York State prisons, and that eventually led me into developing this program Nina had mentioned, Ritual for Return, with people coming home from prison. I've thought about this work a lot, and I just want to say just a couple of things about, you know, what I think this work is about, and why it's so important, and how gratifying, why it's so gratifying for me to be reconnected to traditional theater and conservatory training, where this commitment to justice feels as urgent as my own. You know, this isn't, I don't want this to be about, or for people, I think sometimes think that this is about going in and helping other people. Like, you know, we tend to think of this kind of justice work, especially coming from the position of a conservatory training program, that somehow we artists are going and creating programming to help the voiceless, the so-called voiceless, or to bring arts to the people. And I just don't think that's what this is. And I'll start with a guy named Joseph Beuys, a 20th century artist, who said, every human being is an artist. And what he meant by that is that it's our birthright to be artists, that as far as we know, we're the only creature capable of imagining a future that doesn't exist, that's never existed, and then inventing that future. And more than that, collaborating together and drawing on everyone's unique resources to create that future. And I think that's what we're doing in this work. And just so the idea of justice isn't abstract, I just want to point to the United Nations 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In Article 27, it states that everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts and to share in its benefits. And that's to me what this is about. It's about ensuring that all human beings have access to their birthright as artists, to enjoy the cultural life of the community, to assert the importance of culture in our community. And we live in a culture where we see the deficit of that commitment. I would have loved to have had a training where this sort of thing was at the forefront of people's consciousness. And I hope that as we walk down this road together of developing more programs, of deepening our own understanding of the many different power dynamics at play in this work that are so fascinating and important to recognize. I think the studio is becoming a model for what artist training can be and what actor training can be, in which truly development as an actor and development as a human being are synonymous. That's what I think this work is about. And I think the people that are going to speak next are going to give you some examples of where the rubber hits the road and how and why this work is so meaningful for them and for the people they get to collaborate with. So thank you very much. I hope to meet many of you in the weeks and months and years to come, hopefully not on Zoom, but in person. And I am going to pass it off to Melissa and Caitlin from Adler Youth. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi, my name is Melissa Mickens, proud class of 2011 Tisch NYU Adler graduate. I never imagined when I graduated from the program that Adler would become such a wonderful home for me as I continue to pursue both my artistic and now my arts administrative goals. I started with the Adler Youth Program 8 years ago in an ambassadorship role, as well as working alongside Tommy Dimenkoff, the director of Adler Youth and Outreach at that time, out in Rikers. I was able to work with the young adult male and adult male populations, bringing Shakespeare into Rikers, into the environment, exposing these students to something that they already knew so much about, and learning just how universal the message of theater, of expression, and giving voice to those who always have had something to say, that power. I'm so proud to say that this is my second year in tenure as the program director of the Adler Youth and Summer Shakespeare program, where we get to offer Adler rigor for students who are in high school in New York City free of charge. We have been able to work with students across the 5 boroughs, and I'm so proud to say that even during this time of COVID-19, we are able to work with 30 students right now via Zoom, teaching them voice and speech, movement, technique, and Shakespeare and scene study all through Zoom. So we're really working to make this not only an experience for them, but bringing their community and their families into their training as well. With that being said, I think that's one of the wonderful strengths of the Adler Youth Program and of the Summer Shakespeare program, is that not only are we offering this amazing, not opportunity, but just a great platform for these students to really embrace and explore what it means to act, what it means to have a well-grounded voice, what it means to move and express yourself, and to discover the words of Sonia Sanchez, of Rachel Eliza Griffiths, of Langston Hughes, and putting it to word and song and movement across their 2 years of training is one of the most enriching things that I have been able to find, not just in my post-grad years, but especially in these past 8 months. I cannot say enough about my associate director, Caitlin McCain, who under her wing has been able to bring in something that I noticed was not lacking, but something that needed a little bit more shoring up. And that has to do with our Adler Youth Community Program, which is now the name, but many of you may know it as our NYU Big and Littles program. What we are striving to do with our Adler Youth Community Program is to make the students feel that they are a part of the Stella Adler Studio of Acting family, not just Adler Youth. And so with that, we're able to do workshops and mixers where students are able to work with conservatory and NYU students on weekends, where they get to talk about their interests, they get to create art together, and they also get to learn about what a college experience is like, what a conservatory experience is like, and what it means to maybe drop off from theater and come back to it later in life with the same vigor and passion that they have for it now. If any of you have questions about how you can get involved with this, please leave it in the chat so Joanne can forward it to me. We're always looking for students to come in as ambassadors, to job in for our final productions in the spring, as well as to become mentors and bigs and littles for our Adler Youth Community Program. So I just want to say thank you all so much for coming, for making all of us in Arts Justice feel welcome and a vital part of this community. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and pass it along to the next speaker, who should be, can someone help me?
Suzy.
Is Suzy, who I also worked with during outreach in Rikers, as well as did some help with her with Phoenix House. So Suzy, take it away.
Thanks, Melissa. My name is Suzy PetchEam, and I'm the Director of Arts Justice Field Programs. And what we do is we use arts programming and theater to bring education, community, hope, and healing to underserved human beings. We work in the New York public school system. We work with students ranging from kindergarten all the way to high school. In particular, we work with kids who have just recently come into this country and English is not their first language. We also work in several long-term treatment programs and recovery centers with people who are striving to get clean from drug and alcohol addiction. In particular, we work with a lot of veterans. We work with people who have experienced a lot of personal trauma and are dealing day to day with mental health challenges. We also work in Rikers Island. We work with youthful offenders. We work with 18 to 21-year-old boys and girls. We also work with adult men and women, and we work in many places on Rikers Island. We work in general population. We work in maximum security. We work in a lot of mental observation units, and we worked in the city's first transgender house. And then we have Outside In. Outside In was started because we wanted to create an artistic home, a place for all the students that we encountered in all of our various programs. We wanted to create a safe place for them, a place where they could go to continue studying with us when they've completed their journey through the criminal justice system. We also work with a lot of people who are still currently residing inside drug treatment programs. And it was really important for us to just create a community, a place where they could continue to grow and continue to feel safe and to continue to be with like-minded people, positive people. So what first started out as a one-time-a-month workshop has grown into a full-blown working, producing, touring theater company. We produce 2 major productions a year. We go on a week-long tour, and we've had casts upwards of 30 people, and it's been a wonderful journey there. I haven't figured out too many things in my life, but this I know to be true. Theater can change lives. Theater can save lives. And I know this because it saved mine. After I graduated from college, I spent the next 15 years in extreme drug addiction. And I found myself in rehab once again, and I had relapsed once again. And I ran across a flyer And this flyer said that the Stella Adler studio was offering an acting class at my rehab. And I don't know why, but I went. And in this class, I started to make friends, and started to find my voice again, and I started to experience joy again. And from that acting class, I made the choice to start living again. And so that's why we do what we do. And I just want to end with this quote from Stella Adler. Life has a tendency to beat down and crush the soul, but art reminds us that we all have one. Thank you so much for listening. The next person I would love to introduce or to invite to speak with you is the lead instructor for our women's program on Rikers Island, the glorious, the gorgeous Joanne Edelmann.
Well, thank you, Suzy. And I loved the slideshow in the beginning, but we need to find a picture of Suzy leaping across the gym with the women. We really need to find that picture. So thank you, Suzy. Very briefly, 7 years ago, we started movement theater classes at Rose M. Singer Center on Rikers Island. Tom Oppenheim came into the student lounge and said, would you like to do a movement project with the women out on Rikers Island? And I heard myself say, yes, sure. And that was 7 years ago. And he said, it would only be, you'd be there only about 6 weeks or so. And I said, sure. And that was 7 years ago, because I get so much from it. I don't feel as though I'm there to help them. They're there to help me. Some people refer to this facility for women as Rosies, but I assure you there is nothing rosy about it. Suzy was in the first performance we had at Rose M. Singer Center, which consisted of movement, scenes, music, and poetry. The women wore skirts over their ill-fitting uniforms. They transformed into the beautiful women they once were. We performed for the warden, the commissioner, many faculty and students from our studio. And most importantly, there were other incarcerated women in the audience. And at first, they laughed at the women performers. And then, and Tom and I talk about this all the time, and then we watched them sit up and get drawn into the experience, and the walls wobbled. This program for women on Rikers Island is a living, ever-changing animal. When you go into Rikers on a weekly basis or a couple of times a week or whatever, you have to be flexible. You can't walk in there and say, oh, I'm expecting my class to be here at a certain time and I need this, this, and this. No. You go in, you're happy they let you in. We teach, we work with the women in the gym, the auditorium, the TV room, and their sleeping area. It doesn't matter where they put us. They say, oh, we can't put you in the gym. And I say, okay, you're gonna have to be in their dorm. Okay. We have done acting exercises, private moment, and we've read poetry with the women while sitting on a woman's bed. Every place we are, every place those women are, is the theater. We recently read 5 plays by Lynn Nottage, and the women wrote a play called Waiting for Lynn Nottage. The joke was that I was saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if Lynn Nottage came in and could write a play about the truth? Not that her other plays are not, they certainly are, but to really see what's going on in here. So each week they'd say, is she there? And I'd look in my bag and say, Lynn, are you there? I'd open my coat. Lynn, did you come? No. We follow our duende there. I believe that my job as one of the teachers who goes in is to make them laugh. That's it. Just to make them laugh. and to make them move and feel that their bodies are not a place of abuse, but a place of love and glory. I believe that just bringing in poems and letting them write their own poetry, and they say, look at this, I'm a poet. And I say, yeah, you're a poet. To take them away from the walls, the cages, just for a bit. Now that we cannot go in, we send videos that the women upload on their tablets. We just made a video with one of our former students who is on the outside and changing the world. She just gave an incredible speech in front of the Senate. And so we're taking these videos and bringing them in to the women. Tom was in that video. He wasn't happy about it, but he was in it. One example of the idea of social justice and arts justice being threaded throughout the training at our studio is our poetry reading series. The poets who read in this series are also activists, they're teachers, they're people who tell us the truth about war, poverty, violence, and beauty and love. And I'd like to end with our dear sister Sonia's words. She's our poet laureate, the Stella Adler Studios poet laureate. Tom has these great ideas, and he said, I'm gonna call Sister Sonia Sanchez, ask her if she wants to be our poet in residence. And since that time, we've had Yusef Kominyaka and Idra Novi and Gregory Pardlow and Grace Schulman. And this year we have Rachel Eliza Griffiths. So here is Sister Sonia's words. Let me wear the day well, so when it reaches you, you will enjoy it. Thank you, thank you. Now I'm thrilled to invite Angela Vitale and Kern McFadden to talk about the tour.
Thank you, Joanne. That was lovely. Hi, everyone. As Joanne introduced me, my name is Angela Vitale, and I'm the Associate Artistic Director of the Stella Adler Studio of Acting. And I oversee the program we have with NYU Tisch Drama. I've been asked to speak about our student tour that has become a part of our outreach, now our Arts Justice Division. About 7 or 8 years ago, my administrative position was overseeing production in the NYU program. The 4th year in particular is a program that is mostly rehearsal and production. Their final productions that year ended 2 weeks before the end of the term, and we were looking for something to fill those 2 weeks. We decided to take their final productions to a middle school in the Bronx, where we already had an existing educational outreach program that Tommy Devenkoff was running. Our students went by subway, carrying their props, costumes, and a few set pieces, and performed in the huge school auditorium there. Several wonderful discoveries came out of that decision. The middle school students were exposed to live theater, which was a rare opportunity for them. Our own students were able to bring theater to an audience that experienced it in a completely different way than their usual audiences of family and friends and teachers. And our students were so moved by the questions from the middle school students who clearly had been moved by the performance and engaged. The question and answer session was exciting for everybody. We immediately saw the benefit for everyone involved in developing this as part of our NYU curriculum. And over the next few years, we came up with the model that we currently have. Choosing a Shakespeare play, editing it to an hour, and creating a production that can easily be toured on public transportation to various venues and clients. From that first middle school We've expanded our clients to include several schools, grammar schools, middle schools, and high schools, community centers, halfway houses, rehab programs, jails, and prisons. Our students regularly tour 20 to 25 venues each term, with some obvious changes this term. The NYU fourth year program is meant to be a bridge between training and the professional experiences they will encounter upon graduation, and being able to give our students the opportunity to do this many performances in a variety of venues of different sizes and for a variety of audiences allows them to use their training in ways that we could not offer them here at the physical studio. But perhaps the most significant outcome of this journey has been the intersection of a program of the Stella Adler Center for the Arts with a curricular program of the Stella Adler Studio of Acting. This collaboration embodies our guiding principle that growth as an actor and growth as a human being are synonymous. And it puts into practice our mission into the hands of our students to create an environment with the purpose of nurturing theater artists and audiences who value humanity, their own and others, as their first and most precious priority, while providing art and education to the greater community. The program has grown to include our professional conservatory students, and now we do 2 tours a year, one in the fall with the NYU students and one in the spring with the conservatory. As the program grew, we recognized the need for a dedicated director of that program, and we brought on Kern McFadden as the director of the tour program, Kern having been one of the earliest directors of the tour show, editing, creating, accompanying the actors on all the tours. So I'm going to turn it over to Kern now, who will speak a little bit about the current state of the program and how we've adjusted to not being able to do an actual physical tour. Kern?
Thank you, Angela. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in this wonderful company. I have, very briefly, I just want to say you will learn so much about yourself as an actor and a human when you're carrying your props and your set on a subway at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to a performance. And our students learn a lot about themselves, a lot about each other, and they learn a lot about Shakespeare, because the questions and the insights that all of these audiences have teach us so much more about ourselves as artists in a deeper way. And it's really quite beautiful, something that I've gotten to see firsthand, and I'm very grateful for that. This year, of course, it's different. We're living in this crazy COVID world where none of us are very happy about that, of course, but we're all fighting. There's a common theme. I've been listening to everybody. We're all fighting, aren't we? We're fighting to stay alive right now, to just keep going. And it's so inspirational to hear everybody saying this. But I just started thinking about it. We're fighting to keep going, and successfully. So we just finished a run of 5 performances of Love's Labor's Lost that we did for our community at the Adler Studio. And we are in the current process of putting a recording together, of editing a recording together of those performances that we will send out links to for schools, jails, whoever wants, elder centers, people that we've been serving, and we'll send those links out so they can stream and watch the production virtually. Then we will do a Zoom Q&A or a workshop with them. And I'm happy to say that we have been booking several of these virtual tours, and lots of people, there has been a lot of interest. A lot of people are Zoomed out at school. So to give them something different, a different opportunity that's not just us talking together in a class is a very special thing. So we're excited about it. We're still learning exactly how it works. But it's inspiring, and I'm inspired by everyone here. So thank you for letting me talk. I just want to say I have the pleasure of introducing Alex Anderson and Annette Burwell, who are going to tell you a little bit more about the Ritual for Return program, which is such an exciting program that we're engaged in at the studio. So Annette, Alex.
Thank you, Kern. Hi, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank Tom and Nina for affording me this opportunity to share in this wonderful celebration. I'd like to thank all the previous speakers. It's been informative and amazing to hear the progress that in the last 15 years that Stella Adler Studios has made. And I'm really grateful to be a part of this movement moving forward. So I'm Annette Burwell, and I'm the director of social work for Ritual for Return. So Ritual for Return is an arts-based program for formerly incarcerated people, right? And being a social worker, though, in all my years that I spent in the field of social service, never in my wildest dream did I ever think that I would be a part of Stella Adler's or any acting studio for that matter. But I guess life has a way of leading us to our calling, and we have a responsibility of showing up. So when I was informed that the Arts Justice program was going to be speaking at this event, I kept asking myself, what does social workers have in common with artists, right? But, and I thought this over and over in my head, right? And I want to take this opportunity to highlight the common thread between social workers and artists in the Arts Justice Department. So the artists and the social workers in the Arts Justice Department share a commonality of being warriors. So I'm a social justice warrior, and the artists are actors warrior. And of course, I have to give credit to Tom and Teresa, because I read this on the website that Tom and Teresa gave birth to this term in 2013. So our tasks are the same. We both seek to uphold human rights and social justice. We are advocates and we are agents for social change. So, but as a lone social worker, right, I could never have empowered but one person at a time. But coming to Stella Adler Studio, we can accomplish this on a much larger platform. And our platform has expanded my reach, and together we could do so much more for humanity. We have the ability to bring masses of people together, bridge the differences among people, and building community. We use this space to promote healing for people who are affected by trauma and stigma. So the idea of using art and social justice working together in one space is like just enlarging our reach for all humanity, and we could do so much good. So with that, I just want to turn it over. I want to say thank you again, and I want to turn it over to Alex to talk a little more about Ritual for Return.
All right, thank you, Annette. I also would like to thank everyone that presented today. And I'm gonna keep it short because we're running out of time. And I wanna say I agree with what Annette said, that never in my wildest dreams, I had imagined that one day I'll be doing social work in an acting school. However, the Ritual for Return approach to social work that I follow focuses on healing individuals who are traumatized, empowering individuals who are disempowered, and welcoming individuals who are outcast. And I'm talking about all of us who have been incarcerated, including myself. And in this sense, I feel humbled to be a part of Stella Adler's Art Justice Division. I consider our purpose in our work as actors and as social workers to be the same, and that our differences are our gifts, our talents, our skills, and our experience that we bring to this circle only makes us stronger and more effective in our work to uplift our humanity. I believe that the Arts Justice Division continues to grow, and together we'll learn more, grow more, and be more impactful as we create a more just model of social organization for the rest of society to emulate. And I want to close with a quote, and it says, "You can't have relationships with other people until you give birth to yourself." And I want to ask who said that. It was Sonia that said that. Thank you. And I want to turn it over to the next person. I don't know who it is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Alex and Annette. That's great. Everybody, this is an emotional day, starting with seeing our students from so many years ago. Everybody looks so young. So we would love to hear what your questions are. And I'm going to look in the chat and see what the questions are. And let's see. Wow, it's just all fabulous. Bravo. Hey, everyone. Now, Nina, you put something in the chat. Did you want me to do something about that? Or is that just something for us to have?
Oh, no, that was just to keep us in order.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nina. Thank you. In case we become unglued, which happens from time to time. Anybody have any questions or concerns or something? From one of our NYU first year students, do you work with people who have received life sentences in prison?
I can answer. Is that okay, Joanne? Oh,
Who's
Suzy. Hey, yeah. So there, we definitely still stay in touch with students after they've gone upstate. We write back and forth, and right now we currently actually have one student who did receive a life sentence, and through the Outside In program, he has had many of his pieces produced and presented in our shows. So, you know, every show we get a theme, and I write to him and I tell him what the theme is, and then he sends me work, and I might send him back some notes, and he'll send it back to me. And then, you know, the only thing is we can't actually, you know, show him the work itself, but I'll send him like a picture or something like that. But right now we definitely only have one student who has a life sentence, but we have students who've had, you know, they're doing maybe 5 to 10, or, you know, even like a 3 to 5, but they stay in touch with us, and I write as much as I can.
Thanks, Suzy. Also, an NYU student wants to know.
Sorry, Joanne, I wanted to give Alex a chance.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Alex. Alex, did you want to answer that?
Well, I just wanted to answer that. We'll have the opportunity very soon, Ritual for Return, to engage with individuals who are incarcerated anywhere from 1 day to life. So as soon as we get hooked up to the channels, it is our goal to interact with every individual that's incarcerated and offer our support in any way we can to help their process.
Thank you, Alex. Oh, there's a wonderful comment here from a former student of ours. Actually, you saw her picture quite a bit. And she said, so good to see your faces. FYI, I recently developed a program for young people, All Things Art Cultural Center in Boston. We love you, LaTanya. Thank you. Another one, when can an NYU student begin getting involved in these arts justice programs? I can tell you that it used to be that I took students with me out to Rikers. One summer, every week I took 16 students with me, but that's not possible anymore. I can barely get myself in with 2 other people. But there are plenty of opportunities with the studio. Does Nina or Suzy, do you want to talk about that? There are, I mean, we have an ambassadorship. We have people coming to our Adler youth classes. This summer, we had 3 NYU students that took class with the summer Shakespeare classes.
And Joanne, and I think Melissa also talked about the what used to be the Little Bigs program.
Thanks, Ange. Yes. Melissa, are you still there?
Yes, you can email either myself, it's melissa@stellaadler.com, or my associate, Caitlin, at stellaadler.com. We just did our first mixers, but we're still accepting applications and interest from students who want to be a part of our Adler Youth Community Program. So that's something that you can jump into as soon as you get, freshman year is as soon as you can start, as soon as you know your balance of classes and studio and commitment, then we'll take you. So we're always looking for people to join us in class as ambassadors, or also to be jobbed in for productions when we may need a few more bodies on stage.
Let me see. Okay, so Melissa put her, oh no, Nina, thank you, Nina. Put Melissa's contacts in there. There are a lot of nice things in the chat. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, here's one. For those of you who didn't think you'd work at an acting studio, what was it about actors, the studio, that made you say yes? Annette, did you say that you didn't think you would be at an acting studio? Alex, did you say that?
Yes, I didn't imagine ever doing social work in the acting studio, but what drew my interest and what kept me there is the opportunity. I mean, you can step into a rehearsal room and it's just blank, but for some reason when I stepped into it, it was just opportunity. It just rang out loud to me that I can paint and draw and imagine the world as I wanted it to be in that room. And I wanted the individuals that I was working with to feel the same power that with our imaginations, we can create, the world that we want for ourselves. So it was just the opportunities to expand my imagination and to create. And I didn't get that feeling before in the agencies that I did social work in. I always felt limited and always felt constrained. So the theater just like pow for me. Like it just broke open the limits for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can relate to that, but some of y'all have been in the theater all your life, but for me, it was just pow, like this is where I should be doing my work.
Yeah.
So that's my part. I don't know if Annette has something else, but me and Annette have spoke about this many times. I think something happened to a computer, but me and her have spoken about it many times, and we both came out with the same experience, that it just opened up our whole idea of social work broader than what it was before. I mean, I looked at social work from a very narrow lens. Now that I look back, I was looking at social work from a very small lens. And I went from here to here, like, pow.
Yeah. I think the other side of that is, if anyone told me 20 years ago that I would be working on Rikers Island, I would be pretty surprised. There's something else here.
May I just step in? Just because I was going to say the same thing, and it sort of connects, it seems to me, to what Kevin was talking about, and also to that first project, that the circle that we did at Rikers, where we met Lizette and Latanya and all these glorious people that are still in our lives, which is that we are like heat-seeking missile, looking for the place on this planet where theater can have the greatest impact, where it can do it can do its work in the most vivid, powerful, impactful way, and we find that to be the case when you bring it to a place outside of the theater. And when you bring people from outside of the theater into the theater, that it does its work. And the work is to heal, the work is to grow souls, it's to transform, to uplift, to edify. So we do all our teaching in the field, which Suzy's brilliantly manages. We do all that. We do all our teaching as students, and we go there with humility to learn, and we learned so much.
Yeah.
And the soul space of the Stella Adler Center for the Arts, I'm going to use that nomenclature, the soul space for the Stella Adler Studio, the Stella Adler Center for the Arts, has grown immeasurably by way of arts justice and these glorious people on this panel and this work. And you know, just that what was amazing about our circle is that we had everybody in a circle. Just as Joanne said, there were board members, there were the women we were working with. They brought in women that were at Rikers that were not our students to watch. There were all these sort of deputy CEO, whatever, CEOs, all these people. And we brought students in. We brought our own students in. And so it was a lot of very different people, a lot of disparate groups of people. And just as Joanne said, the women that hadn't studied with us giggled, you know, at their friends doing theater work. But these women, one of whom is here, I think, with us, I think LaTanya was in that group. These women did their work. They stuck to their guns, and they delivered their performance, and we saw their friends transform.
Yeah.
Then we started hearing laughter from our own students, fourth year NYU students, that were laughing in recognition of work they'd done in the first year, you know. And everybody was commanded. And then there was this moment that happened where Lizette stood in the center of the circle, and she said, "I will not move from the center of the circle." And a CO, a corrections officer, said, "Lizette, you've got to move from that." And she said, "No, I won't." And this CO stepped into the theater game. So she took off her mask of CO and she became an actor in that moment. And at the end of it, when they were finished, when the women were finished, when the work was done, our students came charging into the circle and hugged these women. And it was so glorious. It was like seeing, I'll say, the goddess of Dionysius. I might say Sonia Sanchez. I think maybe she stepped off, but anyway, the goddess of Dionysius, the god of theater, the goddess of theater, rip everybody's separate masks off their face, and everybody saw that we are one. That we are one.
Yeah.
These women who were incarcerated freed the souls of we who could leave at the end of that show.
Yes.
And to me, that is the purpose of art justice. So I think you're right. It works both ways.
Yeah.
Great question, and it works both ways. And it allows us, all of us, I hope all of you students and we at the Stella Adler Center for the Arts, to fight together for a better world, to fight together for a more just, for a better world together.
Yeah. There's another wonderful comment by NYU first year student Bianca. "This is what I love about Adler. I've always wanted to use my passion for the arts to advocate for social justice, but I never had the guidance to properly carry it out. Thank you all already for creating a safe space for advocacy and the arts with guidance." Thank you, Bianca. That's beautiful. That's great. Would anybody else like to say anything? We'd just like to piggyback on what Tom said about that corrections officer who came into our circle during our rehearsals. We had many officers who would come in and do something and speak a poem, and then the day of, they were called away or they never did it. but it was the bringing together of the officers and the women. That was so beautiful. Well, from Isha, beautiful community that's been created here, and I'm glad I get to be part of it, making good artists and good people. Much love. We're glad you're here, Isha. So I think perhaps it's time for Fred to please sing us home. Fred?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's just an amazing honor to be here with you all. I can tell you that in so many ways, from my heart, I'm transformed every time I have the opportunity to be in this amazing inner circle of creativity and love and vision here at Stella Adler. My journey in life is to really be a receiver of thought and creativity. Tom asked me if I would be here today to hear, experience, and feel your words. So I wrote page after page after page after page in response to what I heard today. But the most important thing that I feel every time is the reality of truth in this space. A great history of the arts justice program Nina shared with us after Sister Sonia touched our hearts with the names of the changers and resistors of art who have helped to guide us on our way. You see, what Stella Adler does is exemplify the importance and power of art and artists to truly be change makers in the world, to help us realize our humanity. Stella Adler's vision to have you grow as an actor and grow as a human being, valuing humanity through all that you learn. I heard words like healing, empowering, welcoming, being a model, giving birth to yourself, working in the field, growing souls, and transforming the lives of those who need it the most. I'm reminded when I hear Coltrane's horn, how we play and play for hours. And often I would hear melodies that he'd play that my mind couldn't quite understand. But my heart was inspired by how he dug in, and he evolved with every note that he played. Well, this is the journey of Stella Adler, to evolve our souls every day. Such beautiful words. When Joanne talked about it didn't matter wherever they were. They could be in a room or they could be on somebody's bed. Wherever they were, that was the theater. So please know that out in this world is where you will find that you as an artist in so many ways can help to change the world, one heart at a time, one tear at a time, one laugh at a time, one sigh at a time. For we truly are physicians of the heart, healing first, healing ourselves, touching the world with every poem, song, dance, and word we say, changing the world one heart at a time, reclaiming our humanity and justice for all, and justice for all, so that every human being, no matter who they may be or whatever the circumstance they're in, let them know with your heart that they can reclaim the birthright of creativity, one heart at a time, in all that you do. And let me end by saying, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Kern. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Suzy. Thank you, Stella Adler and Jacob Adler too. And to all of you who have come to Stella Adler to take this journey of light, thank each of you, for you're now on a journey to change your